there is a new development, quantum theory as well as neuroscience, which has a great relevance to Indic wisdom.
We wanted to mimic brain. We wanted to understand how neural networks are processing this huge amount of information.
The issue was whether brain works in a digital way or analog way. And 3 days they struggled. And at the end of 3 days, the take-home message, we don't understand. Either physicist, mathematician, neuroscientist, we do not know definition of consciousness. We know the functionality of consciousness, not only pure consciousness, but it is energy. Now, as a scientist, you can ask what form of energy. Is it thermal energy? Is it electrical energy? Is it chemical energy? They say, no, it's a different kind of energy.
This can be beyond physical process also. Are we there? Or still we are very far from that?
First ask whether the human brain is causally closed.
Yeah.
So then they consider the possibility that consciousness might be intervening from outside.
Even if you look at the latest development, there is no indication of existence of free will.
There is no way to define free will scientifically.
How that first neuron got triggered?
Many people say that Indian philosophy is dead and there is no evolution of Indian philosophy. But in the true sense, it is not.
Dr. Sisir Roy and Dr. Srikant, thank you very much for accepting our proposal to join for this podcast on consciousness studies. We welcome both of you. So first, a question to Dr. Sisir Roy. So sir, if you see, maybe some decades back, this field of consciousness studies was mostly confined to philosophers or otherwise some spiritualists. But now we see this field of consciousness studies is gaining a lot of momentum in the scientific circles, and many people are conducting conferences, and I have seen in the past 1 year you are also conducting a lot of debates. So it is coming to the forefront now. Is it because of the growth of artificial intelligence that we want to have some conscious machines that is driving this area, or is it that the gap we figured out in quantum physics with respect to the observer, the importance of observer that is driving this field of consciousness studies? From your viewpoint of view, why this is now becoming more prominent, this field of consciousness studies is becoming more prominent at this juncture?
Yeah, this is great questions, and it has been debated for maybe last 1 century. Since the birth of quantum theory, the role of observer becomes one of the very important issue in modern science. Previously, in the Newtonian era, science was such that it was independent of the observer. But as soon as quantum mechanics was discovered to explain the behavior of the microscopic entities, then the role of observer becomes very much important. In 20th century especially, the people who are working on epistemological issues in quantum theory, they were involved in this kind of debate, but most of the scientists, the practicing scientists, I must say, they were not interested in this kind of debate. The reason was the quantum theory has 2 aspects. One, the formalisms, it depends heavily on mathematics, and second one is interpretations. Now, the scientists, a majority of the scientists in 20th century, they believe that I have a mathematical formalisms and I am trying to explain some of the phenomena in nature or in the lab, and I am getting results which is compatible with the prediction of quantum theory. So, why I will be involved in epistemological issues such as relevance of consciousness, relevance of observer. But as long as the quantum theory is being developed, it becomes more and more crucial to understand the dependence of the observer. And the issue you raised, like artificial intelligence, even long before Turing the Turing,
Alan Turing, yeah.
his famous paper, I mean, there he claimed how far a machine can describe itself. So, more and more interests are coming up whether we can think of a machine which has kind of affection, love, or this kind of subjective elements we the human beings we have. And as long as the artificial intelligence is growing up, then it is becoming more and more relevant, as well as it's very, very difficult that how a machine can be thought of as a conscious machine or subjective elements can be embedded in the machine itself. So, I don't know the how even our Indian ancient wisdom or Indian knowledge system can help us in this matter. I can give you one example, like there is a school of philosophy called Kashmiri Shaivism. In Kashmiri Shaivism, there is a very prominent scholar called Abhinavagupta. So, Abhinavagupta, he proposed a kind of framework for measurement process, because when you say observer dependent, it means you need to think of a measurement process. You like to observe something, you need a kind of instruments. So, instruments and object to be observed, and then the observer which is observing. So, Abhinavagupta said that these three levels, the first is observer which has a particular essence, say we call some subjective element or consciousness, and second one is instruments. So, he told that instrument should be designed in such a way that it should have some essence of the observer, but we do not know how to design an instrument, and that will help a lot in AI development.
And this is during which period, sir, this Abhinav Gupta, whatever he proposed?
Abhinavagupta came after 100 years of Adi Shankaracharya.
Okay, okay, okay.
Adi Shankaracharya was 100 years senior to Abhinavagupta.
Okay, got it.
So, this is one of the area which has also link with designing in artificial intelligence. But as a physicist and little bit to some extent philosopher, I am not able to design such instrument, or like you design a telescope or design a microscope. So, how the essence of the observation consciousness can be embedded there? That is a big thing, even in algorithmic way or any other way. If Dr. Srikant can say something about that, because he is involved in quantum measurement, quantum information, quantum communication.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for raising the question, and for Professor Sisir Roy for shedding considerable light on it. And as Professor Sisir Roy said, from the inception of quantum mechanics in around 1901, we have had the issue of consciousness that comes up in one way or other, mainly in relation to the quantum measurement problem. But again, physicists have this tendency to become suspicious of anything that is purely epistemological, at least mainstream physics. As a result, even if you bring up such issues, so the idea that consciousness may be involved in the measurement process was first brought into the forefront by Eugen Wigner, where he tried to argue that maybe we need consciousness in order to terminate the chain of superpositions and entanglement. So, the idea is that you initially have a superposition, but in the classical world, when you do a measurement, we get a particular classical outcome, not a superposition. So, you argue by saying that maybe the instrument is becoming entangled with the measured system, and then you go ahead and say that maybe the environment is getting entangled with the measuring instrument. So, recursively you keep building entanglement of this sort, and you do not really terminate it to a point where the observer can say that he observed a particular outcome. So, he realized this problem and said that the only way is that you should break the unitary linear evolution of the quantum system. Something non-linear, non-unitary happens.
So, Dr. Srikant, let me try to make it more easier. Like we are looking to a outside world, and say that flower is there, we have lot of flowers in our garden, and light is coming from the flowers and fall on the retina of the eye, and there is millions of receptors in the retina, then this light will activate the retina in the eye, and then ions will be propagating from retina to central nervous systems through axons.
Yeah.
Now, in case of quantum system, or you observe say microscopic entities, then what Wigner, I mean even John von Neumann said that it will ultimately it will be decided by central nervous system, just like any other observation process, and whether there is an inbuilt concept like yes or no. Like I am looking at the flower, I am saying whether it is a flower or not, or I am looking at the cat, I am seeing whether it is a cat or not. So this is kind of in between, or in terms technical terms we say Boolean logic. All the modern computers are based
Yeah,
on Boolean logic,
one
yes,
zero,
yes
yeah.
or no. Now, sorry, I mean I am taking your time.
Oh, no, sir.
No,
It's fine.
there is a new development in quantum theory as well as neuroscience, and which has a great relevance to Indic wisdom. Christoph Koch, a very famous neuroscientist, Crick and Koch, along with his 8 or 9 collaborators, last year, he published a paper. He was claiming that maybe the superposed state, which Dr. Srikant was telling, superposed state can be a source of consciousness. In which way? I mean, if you want to measure something, then it will be either cat is dead or cat is alive in Schrödinger cat paradox. But according to quantum principles, you can have a state which is superposed of both living state and dead state.
Yeah.
Now, what happens if we have kind of have an observation for this kind of intermediate state, and there lies some very interesting similarity in Indic wisdom. Like we have a meditation called Sandhi meditation. What is Sandhi meditation? Or even in cognitive science, in between two thoughts there is a gap. So you try to meditate on the gap, that is called Sandhi. And if you try to increase the duration of the observation in the gap, then ultimately you will experience the pure consciousness. That is our Shastra says. Like awakening and sleeping state. In Buddhist, they say life and death. So this kind of Sandhi. So what we are saying that we want to have some easy recordings of the practitioners who are doing this kind of meditation on the gap between two thoughts, or like Yoga Nidra, there is another kind of technique, and see that what the recording say, whether it's a kind of non-Boolean things or it's a Boolean thing. Because in modern computer we have Boolean, yes or no, but in quantum theory or in quantum cognition they have a kind of non-Boolean, three-valued logic. So we are trying to analyze the data from those kind of subjects which are meditating, say Yoga Nidra or awakening and sleeping, and see what our results say. So in that way, quantum principle called superposition principle will be very much a guiding principle in case of perception, cognition, or there is a bridge between Indic wisdom and modern science.
So yeah, it's nice to hear these things, sir. So if I go back like 2 decades back, we were talking about the computations within the brain. We wanted to mimic brain, and we wanted to understand how neural networks, are processing this huge amount of information. And many scientists felt, in fact, Penrose also has
Penrose and Hameroff.
composed Hameroff and all, they composed few books also. So mostly scientists were talking about how computations within the brain may be giving rise to consciousness. This is one thing I heard very much 2 decades back. Now what I hear mostly in consciousness studies is with respect to the quantum process, which are happening within the neuron. So, there is a shift again. Earlier we thought that maybe these computations which are happening within the brain, neurological computations, those computations itself will give rise to consciousness. But then now I see that the way this field is progressing, we are talking about the quantum processes which are happening within neurons, microtubules like that Penrose is talking. So, is there any reason we moved out of these computations and then entering into the another domain?
This is great questions, and actually the Christoph Koch, who wrote the paper in 1 year before, he was also discussing the whether quantum mechanical process in the brain can give rise to the subjective elements, or what we call consciousness. Now there are two issues. You raise two very important issues. One is computations, another whether quantum processes in the brain itself. Yeah. Now regarding computations, even you know, almost 70 years before, there was a big conference in MIT, and the conference participants are John von Neumann, Alan Turing, McCullough and Keats, and 3-day conference. The issue was whether brain works in a digital way or analog way. And 3 days they struggled. And at the end of 3 days, you know, the take-home message, we don't understand. Now the same situation is here, even after 70. This was done by 1952 or something, because John von Neumann, he passed away maybe 1954 or something. Okay. So still the issue is unresolved, whether like what Penrose told, whether brain does in algorithmic manner or not. So he was in favor of non-algorithmic manner.
Correct.
So that issue is still debated, and we don't know the answer, because people are trying to build up artificial machines or like electronic machines which can work analog way, and whether you need kind of non-Boolean logic. Now if you ask me, is there any process in the brain which works in a quantum mechanical way? And in the atomic scale in the brain is ion channel. What is ion channel? Ion channels are very small tube-like structure at the nanoscale in the protein, and each neuron, I mean nerve cells, they have hundreds of that kind of ion channel, and they have different name like potassium ion channel, sodium ion channel, calcium ion channel, according to which ion can enter into this kind of pores. So nanotubes. Now the issue is that, I mean, we are saying this is the atomic scale in the brain function. And what is the importance of these ion channels? They not only ions are being propagated from one place to another through these ion channels. So information is propagated in the brain through these ion channels. And we have shown from the very observational data, physiological data, not this is speculation. We use dimensional analysis, like, you know, in science we say dimension of mass, dimension of length, like this way. So in case of potassium ion channel, we have taken the data from physiology textbook, like in 1 second how many ions are passing in the channel. Okay. And we found the action, we calculated action using mechanics exactly of the order of Planck constant. Yeah, the scale is same. So we are surprised that whether it is a coincidence or even quantum mechanical process acts in the single channel. Now the complexity is more. There are hundreds of channels even in one cell, one neuron, and then billions of neurons are there. So whether this signature, this quantum mechanical process will act, or like a coarse graining, it will be ultimately erased out and we don't get any quantum mechanical signature. But the good news is that some people has shown already, neuroscientists, that even in the noise in single ion channel level, what is noise here? The ion channel, they have a gates. It's a tube, and on the two sides there are two gates. So, one gate opens, then ion enters, gate closed, and then after some times another gate opens and this ion comes out. This way ions are propagating. So, this opening and closing of the gates, it produces a kind of noise. In technical terms, we say Markovian noise. Okay. And the neuroscientists, they found that this noise, even they propagate to the cognitive level.
Okay.
Cognitive level, not for the single cell, many cells.
Many cells.
Yeah, because even we don't know whether how to formulate a cognitive theory at the single cell level. So, if the noise level comes to the cognitive level, we are thinking that whether this quantum mechanical signature will come to the like macroscopic scale in the brain. So, this is one of the signatures.
So
And
if I may interrupt, so
yeah.
this gate closing and opening, it's a quantum
No, it's a Markovian noise.
Markovian noise.
But we already have shown and published very good journals, like to explain the behavior of this kind of potassium ion channel, you need quantum mechanical process. Otherwise, it's not possible to explain it. So, there is a possibility that at certain scale, we say the smallest scale, quantum mechanical process may be active. This is not accidental that we found a constant which is exactly Planck constant. Now, the question I know what you are going to ask.
Okay, you already could foresee.
Been through so many meetings, so he anticipates it.
No. So, the our point is that the superposed state means, superposed state in quantum theory, it means it consists of all possibilities.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, what we normally, the people from India who are practicing this kind of meditation, they are saying that if you can go enter into that domain, that then you have experience of pure consciousness.
Okay.
Now, here the issue is that in quantum theory, when the measurement comes, they say either of the two states, either cat is dead or cat is alive. But if you look the superposed state, that is also solution of the same quantum equation called Schrodinger equation. And now, whether if we take the insights from the people who are working on Indic wisdom, then probably if we can design such kind of observation process, where we can have the experience what you people say, the consciousness in Indic wisdom. And again the same question comes, what kind of design of instrument we should do it. And there is a proposal, I mean we did it, called partial reduction of the wave packet. What is meant by that? If there is superposed state of cat is living plus cat is dead, linear combinations, and if you try to observe what is happening in the chamber where cat is there and poisonous gas is put there, then because of the observation process, you will see either cat is dead or cat is alive. Now, if some measurement process can be designed whether when the wave function is not fully reduced to either of the two states, dead state or living state, we say partial reduction of the wave packet. Mathematically, this has been formulated. But how to design it, that's a big issue. And I think in that case, we might have a kind of, I mean, insights from traditional wisdom might help us, like Abhinav Gupta's ideas, or Kashmiri Shaivism itself can give us some insights. Then it will be breakthrough kind of thing.
So, one thing, sir, my question is a little bit different. When we talk about the quantum process within microtubules, like Penrose is proposing, is it a mechanism of transmitting the consciousness, or is it really the origin of consciousness? This question I have many times. Is it that somewhere we are going like into a domain wherein we are talking about the consciousness is transmitted through quantum physical process, or that itself is very origin of consciousness?
No, neither of the two.
Neither of the two?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Because what are the microtubules? Microtubules is a kind of tubules in nano domain, nanoscopic scale, where if the signal passes through these tubes, it acts like a sealed tube. I think outside disturbance will not be affect what is the signal inside it. Okay. So, what Penrose and Hameroff they propose that the signal which is coming from outside world, as soon as it enters in the brain, it passes through the microtubules, then the superposed state will not be disturbed, because the tube is such that it will not allow any kind of noise from the outside. Because there are various types of synaptic noise, ion channel noise, a lot of noises are there. And as soon as this kind of superposed state is flowing in going through the channel, and then at a certain point when these nanotubules they form an architecture of the space time which gives rise to gravitational potential. So there will be reduction of the wave packet, and we say, this is an apple. But there are some fundamental issues. One is that suppose light comes from outside and falls on the retina of my eye. Even it is possible to think of a single photon impinging on my retina. Now, even if the single photon impinges on the retina of my eye, then the receptors in the retina will be activated, and lot of ions will be emitted. Now, the question is, even a single photon which impinges on the retina, even there is superposed state. Then because of the emission of lot of ions, then superposed state will break down. So, what is meant by coherence of the external light? That fundamental question, they know it, but they intentionally avoid it.
So, okay, what you are saying is, whatever Penrose theory, very popular theory, it's not explaining really the origin of consciousness, even the transmission of consciousness.
No.
Okay. And what theory you feel at least closely somewhere there according to your experience, which is maybe describing better, is there any other theorem, or still we are in the world of exploring the things wherein we want to see something in the future?
This is serious question. Okay. The issue is, what is consciousness?
Yeah, this is very fundamental. Yeah. Let us come to fundamentals now. Yeah.
And now the scientist, either physicist, mathematician, neuroscientist, we do not know definition of consciousness. Okay. Then what we know? We know the functionality of consciousness. Okay. So, if we want to design something or origin of something, then we have to look for functionality of consciousness, not the definition of consciousness. And definition of consciousness and their different aspect. Again, in Indian philosophy, they have different, views of that. So, for a scientist, if you want to look, even if there is a quantum mechanical process in the brain, unless you have a superposed type of state, you cannot get the experience of consciousness or what we call functionality of consciousness. Because we know, thing is that some people say that consciousness is also energy. Like Kashmiri Shaivism, they say, there is, both Advaita Vedanta and Kashmiri Shaivism, they are kind of Advaita philosophy. But there is a difference. In Advaita philosophy,
Shankaracharya.
He did. He said that it is a pure consciousness, the ultimate reality. But in Kashmiri Shaivism, Abhinavagupta and other people, they say it is not only pure consciousness, but it is energy. Now, as a scientist, you can ask what form of energy. Is it thermal energy? Is it electrical energy? Is it chemical energy? They say, no, it's a different kind of energy. Then it gives rise to problem to the scientist. Then, if I say that consciousness and matter, they interact. So, one, we know, we have the framework of matter. All the mathematical formalism, like Lagrangian, like Hamiltonian, all kinds of things. What about consciousness? If we don't know it, then how we can formulate the interactions between matter and consciousness?
It's a very important point, sir, like in our discussion. Do you think consciousness is something beyond physical process and it is interacting with physical process, or is it part of the physical system itself? Because that's where I think the fundamental question arises when we are talking about microtubules and quantum process. If you consider these are more physical things, is it consciousness is also part of physical reality, or there is something which is beyond the physical reality which is interacting with this physical process? That's where I am coming from. What is your opinion?
No, it's a fundamental issue like reduction.
Yeah, it's a fundamental issue.
Non-reduction.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And scientists, most of the scientists, they do believe that it's an emergent phenomena, like from matter and certain stage of matter, maybe consciousness will, what we say consciousness, that will emerge. But on the other hand, Advaita Vedanta or some other Indian schools.
Yeah, even Dvaita Vedanta, everybody say, like consciousness is
something outside
a different reality.
intervenes.
So that's where, like how do we synthesize this? You see some progress in modern science where I see in Penrose viewpoints and all, somewhere he puts point C or D viewpoint, like some mystics say that there is some reality which is beyond rationality or something. He brings in certain concepts, but are we talking now in conferences or somewhere, or some scientists are coming together to think in this direction that consciousness can be beyond physical process also? Are we there, or still we are very far from that?
No, we are still far from that. Even if somebody says it is beyond that, then how they
interact? Yeah.
We don't have any framework. Then you develop a framework. Okay, we scientists, we do not have. And also there are some other attributes which we cannot think in case of the material world.
So at present, whatever we are talking, whether you take from artificial intelligence perspective, computations perspective, or from quantum phenomena perspective, we are considering mostly consciousness is emergent property of the matter only. Maybe some of the phenomena, right? Maybe it's a quantum phenomena at subatomic level, but that's what is giving rise to consciousness. That's what mostly we are thinking. Or is there any other thought is what I wanted?
Don't think about it at all and make no commitment. And if you press them, probably they will say that it is some kind of an emergent, effectively an emergent phenomenon. In my opinion, only neuroscientists, sir may correct me, like neuroscientists and philosophers. For example, philosophers ask whether the human brain is causally closed. So then they consider the possibility that consciousness might be intervening from outside. At least that possibility is there. So in physics as such, what happens is every time the issue of consciousness, for example, comes up in the context of quantum measurement problem, it is always formulated as a very specific experimental test. And then you reach a conclusion which in the end, from a philosophical standpoint, has nothing to do with consciousness the way we talk about.
Okay.
Let's say, for example, the issue of free will. There was a realization that implicit in the Bell tests, we are considering that the measurements which are performed by observers require free will. So that is formulated in terms of something called measurement independence. So free will then becomes the question of whether the choices made by the experimentalist is independent of the state, the quantum state or the hidden variable state that is being used to explain the quantum outcomes. And then an experiment was proposed in which the measurement choices are made from stars. Two stars are two galaxies, light from two stars, which are causally, disconnected. They come from parts of the universe which could not have been in interaction. So in every sense, it is formulated as a quantitative question, anything to do with free will or consciousness, and the answer becomes something other than what would be interesting to fundamental philosophers of science.
So at this point, I can tell you the latest status of the free will.
Yeah, that will be great, sir. Yeah.
Because in neuroscience, even if you look at the latest development, there is no indication of existence of free will.
Okay.
Because you know that if you consider a kind of mathematical equations, like a nonlinear equations, which is applicable to living organisms, brain and others, and you consider that because there will be slight shift of the initial condition when you try to solve the equation, and then after some times you will find a chaos will appear. Okay. Even the system is a deterministic system. You know, determinism means if you know the initial point, then you can predict what will happen to the future. But even remaining within Newtonian deterministic system, you can predict chaos. Okay. But then we will say whether this kind of things in case of free will happens. Here in mathematical equations, we are just deviating from say initial point x equal to x naught and then say x naught plus epsilon. If you move in that way, then chaos will appear. Now, there is another process called random process. In many living organisms, random processes are there. And if you look at the behaviors there, after some time, these random behaviors and this chaotic behavior, it is very difficult to distinguish which is from chaotic behavior or which is from really random behavior. Random behavior and chaotic behavior are two different things, because chaotic behavior arises in a deterministic system which is non-random. On the other hand, a random process also can give rise to it. So, it is very difficult to distinguish how the free will emerge.
And which we all experience in our life, but we don't have a good answer.
Yeah, we don't have good answer for that.
Sir, one more question, Srikant sir, like I saw your introduction, right? You work on causality, okay? So in signal processing, we also study causality, right? So especially in the brain, when billions of neurons are there, and when we say that after one neuron gets fired, then millions of neurons gets fired, because there is a huge network of neurons. This is what we study in neural networks also. Now, many times I wonder how that first neuron, got triggered, because it's a non-causality. Somewhere I see non-causality here, because when you talk about causality, there should be some input and then output should come, right? Then only we talk it as a causal system from signal processing point of view. But then when you talk about neural networks, like, and the question comes how the first neuron got triggered. Like, is it because of our thought that these neurons are getting triggered, or what is that, which is triggering the first neuron? Of course, after first neuron gets triggered, then we know several neurons gets triggered or fired. So, what is your idea, about what is happening within our brain? Is there any other element which is interacting? Have you explored this area, sir?
So I think you have hit the the core of the problem.
Yeah.
And I think you're essentially talking about the tension between defining the human system as an input-output system. So if you call it an input-output system, then it is causally closed.
Yes.
And every output is then explained in terms of the input.
Correct.
And everything seems okay. It seems everything is explained in principle until we realize that then what about free will?
Yeah.
So when the issue of free will comes, then you say that okay, maybe we have autonomy, and that the initial trigger which generates an intention comes from within. And when you try to do that, you ask whether there are rules that determine that initial trigger. And if you say that there are rules, then you say that there is no free will because it's constrained by rules. And if you say that there are no rules, it becomes random. Therefore, we again come to the point that there is no way to define free will scientifically. So not just consciousness, we don't know how to define free will.
No, at this moment let me interrupt. There is some, if you look at the brain itself, realistic way, then you will see that there is a phenomena called spontaneously active neurons.
Okay.
What is meant by that?
Okay.
Even in the absence of external stimulus, neurons fire randomly.
Okay. Yeah. I studied that. Yeah. Correct.
Spontaneous
yes.
activity.
Spontaneous. Yeah. Correct.
So
yes.
now
Without any input.
Without any input. Now,
But that is when system is idle, sir.
no, not only that. Now the issue is, what is the cause for that?
Okay.
Because the brain consumes the total energy. Out of that, it uses 25% of that energy for keeping this spontaneous activity of neurons. Then what is the purpose?
Yeah. This is a good point actually. Yeah. Okay.
You know, again we come to John von Neumann, that mathematician. He gave an answer. He speculated. Because before, after his death, one book published by him, his book published, Brain and Computer. So there he speculated to keep the metabolism on in any human body. You need certain kind of temperature or something like that. So that causes the spontaneous activity of neuron. But then in many real life situations, suppose there is a heart attack. Sometimes they do big heart operations, making it under very low temperatures. Then why don't you see what is going on for the spontaneous activity of neurons? Nobody has done it. Okay. Now what happens to the external stimulus when they come? When they come, it is not yet clear whether that signal is linearly additive to already existing path of spontaneously active neuron or non-linear way. There is still debate on that, even from experimental side. We don't know. So the question of first impact here, it does not really mean, because there is a ocean already which is bubbling.
Okay.
And you are
Okay.
some signal is coming.
Okay.
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 And even I can ask you, even in the deep meditative state, asampragyata samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi, what happens to this spontaneous activity of neurons?
Yeah. In deep meditation, we alone exist. Though it is difficult to explain this, we alone exist, and it's a state of experience, right? So, and it's difficult to formally explain this. This is where some language is required, wherein
No. We are asking in the real brain what is happening. We have to put. No, we are looking seriously. Such a sadhaka,
Okay.
which is experiencing nirvikalpa samadhi, and we like to put him, if he agrees, under the scanner and see what happens. Because in principle, chitta vritti nirodho, all kinds of cessation of thoughts.
Right. Exactly, sir.
Okay.
Ideally, mind should be at full rest when you are experiencing yourself in sushupti. But then, like when sadhaka is informed about it, because it's a natural state, when we put him in a controlled environment, whether he will be reaching that state, because it has to be reached naturally. This is where subjectivity again comes into picture. When we are looking at him, to putting him in a controlled environment, whether he will reach the same stage or not, this is again a more debate.
I mean, it will be another interesting area that regarding the measurement.
Okay.
In case of meditation, in the beginning, it is like a noise regulatory process, because the wandering thoughts will come and you have to limit it. So,
in Ashtanga Yoga they say dharana, and then correct.
So it is like a kind of noise regulatory process. But after certain stage, you will find that the system itself is being transformed. So that's why if we do meditation more and more, then there will be change in the human being, system itself.
Oh yeah. Right.
So this is like measurement in quantum theory. Because in classical theory, we don't have changing or transformation of the system itself. So now maybe he knows better. Then there is a theory in quantum theory called POVM, positive operated value measure, instead of projection value measure. So people are trying to formulate this kind of phenomena with the help of POVM. So it is not only filtering, but something more. Because with filtering, like 7 colors are coming, you put one filter or prism, then it can be dispersed. It is not that way. System itself being changed. So there is a link of quantum process in that way. What we say like quantum cognition. It's a new field is emerging where you can think of this kind of superposed states and like not exactly which state which correspond to which state of neuron, not like that. It's a kind of abstract framework. So why people are doing abstract framework? Because they did some experiments from where they got a huge kind of data for decision making and they found that non-Boolean logic is very much appropriate. Even Daniel Kahneman, who won Nobel Prize, he was also involved in this kind of experiment.
Sir, one question when you were explaining the quantum process which are taking place, for example, within microtubules like that, is it possible to simulate them in a controlled environment wherein we can validate something? Because one fundamental question that comes is it possible to simulate and say what we are saying is true? Other thing is, one basic question that comes to my mind is, now brain is at a temperature and quantum process, what I understood is they happen at very low temperature. So when we are talking about quantum process which are
No,
the
it's not. No, it's not
is
true.
it,
No, it's not true because in the ion channel, it's the ordinary temperature.
Room temperature.
So that
It's room
means
temperature.
quantum process can take place in the room temperature also. But then in sir, a question to you, Srikant sir, when we talk about quantum computing, we are talking about very low temperatures, what I understand. So if quantum process can happen at room temperature, why we are talking about low temperature and controlled environment? Is there any reason?
Okay, ultimately it has got to do with the particular platform you're talking about. Let's say you're talking about a superconducting quantum interference device. So you need to have superconductivity and there they have a superposition of current. So you need to have that sort of a refrigeration. Again, if you're talking about optical lattices, you need to create a state which requires a low temperature. But you're absolutely right. In IISc, in Professor Chandrasekhar's lab, you have just photonic qubits where ordinary photons are being used as qubits. And in this case, you don't need refrigeration, but the price that they need to pay comes in some other way. Namely, photons interact very weakly. So you need to do a lot of post-selection, etc. in order to be able to do a large-scale quantum computing. So in every case, you have to pay a price in order to gain certain other facilities. Yeah. So so as Professor Sisir Roy was telling, I think the main claim made by Penrose and others is that quantum coherences can be preserved inside the micro.
No, again, the issue is that whether it is a quantum coherence or classical coherence, they did not mention it. Because even classically coherence may happen also. In quantum biology, which I just published a book 2 months before, quantum biology, there the debate was there in case of explaining photosynthesis. Light comes and then how photosynthesis happens. People initially speculated that quantum coherence plays a important role. But the issue is that how do you know it is a quantum coherence or classical coherence? Then what they did, they developed kind of spectrometer by which you can differentiate this is quantum coherence and this is classical coherence. Okay. And then ultimately people convinced that okay, in photosynthesis quantum coherence is preserved. So in case of Penrose and Hameroff, they don't even discuss whether it is a classical coherence or quantum coherence. Even I was talking to Dr. Srikant that there is a machine by which you can detect the aura of a particular mystic person. Yeah. But what they measure? I mean, in normal body, like you are sitting, I am sitting, he is sitting, the thermal photons are being emitted. You can get a spectrum of that. It's very incoherent.
Yeah. I used to work in these thermal imagers when I was in research lab. So
you're talking about Kirlian photography.
Yeah. Now, people are saying that okay, the spectrum which is being emitted in case of mystic person, that is coherent spectrum. Fine, it may be. I have not seen such spectrum. And then they say that maybe quantum mechanical process is going on in your body from which this kind of. But even in classical cases also, you can get coherent spectrum. And in once the New York University Medical School, they told me that can you look into the machines what Japanese are producing to measure this kind of spectrum. Then I searched a lot of literature, and I am not convinced that they even understand the difference between classical coherence and quantum coherence. It's a catchy term, you know. Some spectra are emitting, and that is quantum spectra. So our body is maintaining this quantum things, etc. But it's not. I mean, that point is the rigor which science develops. Whether we can develop also that kind of rigor from our traditional wisdom. That rigor is very important. So a scientist, I mean, I was thinking today that why scientists will be interested in spirituality.
Yes, sir. Yes.
There are some issues. One issue is the rigor. The scientists who are passing through that kind of rigor, normally, maybe in our text we have that kind of rigor, but not it is coming to us in our language. Again, the problem of communication. Otherwise, scientists will be interested. If you say that no, this is also a discipline where you have similar type of rigor is there.
Sir, one final question. I was inspired by your debates, because if you see, Bhaktivedanta Institute also worked towards synthesis of science and spirituality. So, and I saw your debates, you also bring spiritualists and scientists. So, it's interesting for me. So, what do you expect in such kind of discussions? Means how you are proceeding further? Do you want to develop a framework for this consciousness studies by taking some more inputs from this traditional wisdom, or what is your goal in organizing this kind of debates? Are you looking for some kind of spiritual elements to be incorporated in our modern science, or you want some new thoughts, or you want to do some experiments?
This is very good questions, and we thought over it, and there are few aspects.
Okay.
One aspect is that we want to build up a lexicon, terminology by which both of us can understand. Okay, that's very difficult term. Second one, whether we can get insights from our traditional wisdom to understand the epistemological issues which are coming in modern science.
Interesting. Yes.
And also, there is another issue. Many people say that Indian philosophy is dead, and there is no evolution of Indian philosophy. But in the true sense, it is not.
No.
Because they said there are six schools of philosophy, Indian school. So what is necessary to do something? No, it may happen that even with the development of modern science, we can think of evolution of Indian philosophy itself. Because in one meeting, Life and Mind meeting, His Holiness Dalai Lama, he was saying that if scientists show some results which is not compatible, in his case Buddhist philosophy, then we should accept that we will not stick to Buddhist doctrine itself. So in that way, there should be also evolution of philosophy. So here are many aspects, many facets, but for that we need a group of really people who, like I can tell you frankly, we did 4 dialogue up till now, and each dialogue consists of more than 6 hours. We have recordings.
Yeah, I saw some recordings on YouTube.
Now
sir.
we have to make it transcript. Now with the help of AI, it is possible, but it's time consuming, and we are getting short of people. So we need to make a really enthusiastic group who can help us making transcript and also to make it public, like publishable. We talked to Springer also. They are interested.
Very good.
But we have to give them all the transcript in a publishable form. So both insights, then lexicon, there are very facets. You can think of, and
Sure,
maybe we can have a joint collaboration.
Yeah, we can collaborate, and because Bhaktivedanta Institute also, if you see, is very much inclined towards this kind of discussions. Because our idea is also to see that modern science also gets some kind of direction from the traditional wisdom, and traditional wisdom also definitely gets some more practical aspects from the modern science.
And also I can tell you, in this last January, we arranged here 2 days meeting on AI and dharmic view.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
But I mean, we invited even outside people, outside from India also.
Okay.
But the problem is that AI is based on a science.
Yes.
I mean, any technology.
Yeah.
And that science is mainly Western science.
Yes, yes.
European,
I agree.
we say.
Yes, yes. Mostly, yeah.
Mostly
to do with Western
European
science. Yes.
And that European science is mostly based on Greek philosophy, Greek thoughts. Now, in case of dharmic view, how our concept from Indic wisdom can be embedded here in case of AI. It's a kind of computational tools and predicting power, etc., etc. So I was talking to Professor Lakshmidhar Behera.
Yeah, he's from IIT.
Director.
He was there in IIT-Kanpur and now Mandi, right? Yeah.
Few days before, I was talking to him.
Yeah, yeah. He is from neural networks.
Yeah.
Professor
Then he told, yes, let me think over it, and then we have discussion, because they are arranging one big international conference in June on mind matter consciousness or like that. So I went there Monday and stayed there for a week, and they have a Indian Knowledge System Center, big center.
Now government also is
Government
supporting.
is encouraging.
IKS, Indian Knowledge System.
But again, the issue is how really our Indic wisdom can be embedded in this kind of.
No, I think the path you are taking, sir, will help actually. This is my humble opinion. By bringing the spiritualists and also scientists together in conferences and some debates, I think definitely more opportunities will come, more doors will open for the synthesis of science and spirituality. This is where I was, inspired, by this model, because it aligns with our Bhaktivedanta Institute model also. And Dr. T.D. Singh, if you see, he was organizing this kind of conference, like you mentioned in the beginning, sir, like almost from 1970s, Dr. T.D. Singh organized many conferences on consciousness studies and all, because his main vision was to bring scientists and spiritualists together to understand these areas better. So, and Bhaktivedanta Institute very much, is his brainchild, if you see. Under his direction, Bhaktivedanta Institute operates. So, definitely.
That international conference, there are really very good number of scientists. That Bombay.
Yeah, Bombay, yeah. So, we have a desire to organize such conferences, at least one conference, collaborating with more people, wherein we can bring some prominent scientists also and spiritualists also, and go further in this area of consciousness.
And we also emphasize, I can tell you, that if we even invite scientists, they should be serious on their discipline.
I agree.
They must be. Otherwise, we can invite some people on the fringe also, but suppose you invite a hardcore scientist, we will say that he is honestly doing something on his own field. We don't need that he has done something on Indic wisdom. No. Even on his own field he is serious, it will matter.
Yes, I agree, sir.
Yeah, otherwise, because of the internet, lot of abuse of information is going.
That is there. Yeah, we should avoid that. Yes, I agree.
Should be very careful. No, in that way, maybe with Bhaktivedanta Institute, we can collaborate, because our project is going on.
So, thank you very much, sir. It was a very nice discussion. Personally, I also got benefited, and I hope all the viewers who will go through this podcast also will get benefited. We want to have a series of sessions, and we'll meet you again at some point of time again, sir. Especially, sir Srikant, sir, I want to also discuss with you on quantum computing, quantum entanglement, and how it can benefit society.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
No.